The coffee shop was unusually crowded that morning. Rain tapped against the wide glass windows as people hurried inside, dripping umbrellas and damp jackets trailing behind them. Daniel Matthews, a single dad in his mid-30s, balanced a tray with 2 cups of hot chocolate and a small plate of muffins. His 7-year-old daughter, Emma, sat waiting at a corner table, swinging her legs as she doodled in her notebook. To anyone watching, Daniel looked calm. But inside, he was exhausted. Working double shifts as a mechanic, raising Emma alone, and barely scraping by, it felt like life was always one bill away from collapse. Still, he smiled every time he looked at her. Emma was his anchor, his reason to keep pushing through. "Here we go, sweetheart," Daniel said, sliding the tray onto the table. "1 muffin, extra sprinkles just the way you like it." Emma grinned, her eyes sparkling. "Thanks, Daddy." But before Daniel could sit, a voice cut sharply through the hum of the cafe. "Excuse me, that's my table." Daniel turned. Standing before him was a tall woman in a tailored black coat, her dark hair swept neatly into a bun. Everything about her screamed control, precision, power. She didn't even glance at Emma, her eyes were locked on Daniel with a cold impatience. "I'm sorry," Daniel said politely. "We didn't see any reserved sign." "I don't need to put a sign," she replied curtly. "This is always my table." Emma's smile faltered. She tugged on her dad's sleeve and whispered softly, "It's okay, Daddy, we can leave." Those words, gentle, forgiving, far too big for such a small child, pierced through Daniel. He opened his mouth to apologize again, ready to pick up the tray and find another spot. But something about Emma's tiny voice, her willingness to shrink herself just to avoid conflict, made him stop. For a moment, silence hung between them. And then, something unexpected happened. The woman looked down, really looked, and saw Emma's trembling lip, the way she clutched her drawing book like a shield. Something softened in her eyes. She inhaled, as though steadying herself, and her expression shifted. "Wait," she said quietly. "Don't go." Daniel hesitated. Listen, it's fine, we'll find another." "No," she interrupted, her voice less sharp this time. "Stay. Please." She pulled out the chair opposite Emma and sat down, surprising everyone including herself. Emma blinked at her. "Are you mad at us?" The woman let out a breathless laugh, but there was no humor in it. "No, sweetheart. I think I might be mad at myself." Daniel frowned, unsure how to respond. But then the woman's phone buzzed. On the screen flashed dozens of notifications, emails, reminders. Her life was a storm of endless responsibility. She silenced it quickly, almost ashamed. "I never notice people anymore," she admitted softly, eyes flicking to Emma's notebook. "What are you drawing?" Emma hesitated, then turned the page around. A sketch of a house, with stick figures, her and her dad smiling in the front yard. The woman's throat tightened. Something in that picture, the warmth, the simplicity, pulled at a part of her heart she thought had frozen years ago. "I'm Claire," she said finally, extending a hand to Daniel. "Claire Donovan." Daniel shook it awkwardly. He didn't know who she was, but everyone else in the cafe certainly did. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Claire Donovan, the billionaire CEO, the woman whose company touched nearly every household in the city. But right now, she wasn't a CEO. She was just a woman who suddenly felt the weight of her own loneliness. The conversation that followed was easy. Unexpectedly so. Emma talked about school, about how her dad made the best pancakes in the world, about how she wanted to be an artist someday. Claire really listened for the first time in years. Daniel, cautious but kind, answered her questions without flattery or fear. Unlike everyone else in her life, he didn't treat her like she was untouchable. He was simply himself, humble, straightforward, protective of his daughter. And something in that grounded honesty struck Claire harder than any business victory ever had. When Emma excused herself to the restroom, Claire leaned across the table. Her voice dropped low. "You know, I can't remember the last time I saw a father and daughter this close. My dad was never there for me. Maybe that's why I became what I am." Daniel studied her. For the first time, he saw not the billionaire, not the intimidating presence, but a woman worn thin by years of isolation. "Maybe what you are," he said gently, "is just someone who forgot how much the little things matter." Claire's eyes glistened, but she quickly blinked it away. Before she could reply, Emma returned, sliding back into her chair and proudly holding up a new drawing. This one had 3 figures. "Look." She beamed. "It's me, Daddy, and you." Claire's breath caught. The stick figure version of herself was smiling, holding their hands. Something inside her cracked wide open. And in that crowded cafe, where rain still pattered against the glass, where strangers pretended not to stare, Claire Donovan, the woman who ruled boardrooms without blinking, felt her life quietly, unexpectedly, begin again.